Listen to the people. Listen to humanity. Listen to the parrot. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot. Listen to the people. Listen to humanity. Listen to the parrot. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Listen to the people. Listen to humanity. Listen to the parrot. Parrot TV. 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 Parrot TV.
World Inkers Monthly magazine is a fine source for your literary interests. It's an all-source magazine with poetry, prose, and essays and articles, as well as interviews. It's all full-color art and photography from a variety of voices and artists. You will find this magazine entertaining. This is an all-purpose readership, and we are looking for new voices. This sleek, full-color edition of World Inkers Monthly magazine will be something pleasant for your eyes as well as for your mind. And we're looking for authors for one book promotion in the magazine. If you're a business, we want to promote your business. You may submit your book reviews, your academic or non-academic articles on the humanities and the arts, as well as your literary writing and creative output to publication.worldinkers@gmail.com. Are you curious about financial literacy? Then take a look at Professor Anthony Rivecchio's new program on Parrot TV. It's called Financial Focus University. This is an excellent program to learn about questions related to your own finances post-COVID, if how you can manage your money, how you can work with your tax situation. And this is an excellent and informative discussion of financial literacy. With Professor Anthony Rivecchio, your financial problems will be solved at Parrot TV with Financial Focus University. Hey, everybody out there. Welcome to World Inkers Network. I'm Dustin Pickering, your noble and honest host. Today we have Rick C. Christiansen. You may know him from being on the show many times before, and today is his second full-length interview. So you guys are going to be in for a treat. I'm sure you know a little bit about Rick if you're watching right now. So tell us a little bit about what's going on new, Rick. What's some of your new projects and some of your exciting faux pas in the world of literature?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me today, Dustin. Always a pleasure. And it's so exciting to watch the growth of, it's more than a program, it's a movement. And you know, with the books and now the magazine and the anthologies, just really going places. So I'm excited to feel as though I'm a part of this movement, and trying to reinforce that with some of the other projects I'm involved in right now. Of course, I am the permanent co-host now of SpoFest, which is the spoken word event that you are, of course, very familiar with. You were one of our featured readers recently. And we are on there a couple of times a month. We have featured readers and guest authors every month. And then we also have a full open mic night. And one of the things that we've started this year that we're finding to be a lot of fun during the open mic is we have a segment called Rough Draft. And essentially any poet or writer or actor or anyone who comes on, they can select that they're going to do the rough draft, and we give them a scenario or a topic, just like if you were at Second City for improv. And they have 10 seconds to think about it, and then 3 minutes to essentially improv a poem, a beat poem, do a comic monologue. You know, we've had a couple of people who pretended they were on phone calls and did like one of those old like Bob Newhart routines where they like pretend that they're talking to Abraham Lincoln about tobacco, or it's a lot of fun, and it's like guerrilla theater. So we've been having fun with that. The other big thing I'm working on right now, and we will hope that we're able to get you to submit something for us to take a look at for it. Damian Ward Hay, who is the editor of the Stone Poetry Journal, through the auspices of the journal, we are putting together and have a submission call out open till April 30th for a missing a lost or deceased pet anthology. Poems about pets that have been lost, poems about pets that are dead. It's kind of a dark subject, but we're finding with the submission so far some really beautiful poetry. The placeholder title at this point is Gone But Not Forgotten. Don't know if that's going to be where we'll land, but it's going to be a full-length book. If we and this is a stretch in poetry, as we both know, but if it ends up having some net profits, those profits are going to go to probably one of several different animal welfare organizations. We're keeping that open because when we get the right publisher, we're expecting that part of that package will be that they have an animal, SPCA or Animal Welfare League that they already have some kind of affiliation with, and we'll probably just cross coordinate with that. But we're really excited about this, and it won't just be a book of poetry. It will be the equivalent of a gift book. It's something that if I have my way with it, before you know it, it will be on everybody's bookshelf. And when they have, things like the goldfish, Goldie, passed away, and you've got to have the backyard funeral with the little tiny shoebox, they'll pull this book off the shelf and they'll find a poem that is appropriate, and they will read that as part of their eulogy. Nobody's ever done, as far as we've been able to find in research, an anthology of poetry about deceased and lost pets, but there have been a lot of poems about it through the years. Mary Oliver had one. Heck, go all the way back to Lord Byron and his ode to his hound. So there's a long and noble tradition of lost and deceased pet poetry and tributes to pets that are gone. And we hope to gather together a really stellar anthology from what is out there. We're accepting new work and previously published with attribution. Send up to 3 submissions. The flyer is out there, available on my my social media outlets, but you can submit directly to here's the email address, ladies and gentlemen. It's anthologypet@gmail.com. So ANTHOLOGYPET@gmail.com, or you can go to the Stone Poetry Journal main page, and there's a link to our flyer from there. And in the flyer, there is a link to the email. So long answer to a short question, but yeah, staying really busy and publishing.
Absolutely.
I'm going to be on Wednesday Night Poetry tomorrow night.
All right. Was that Kai Coggins?
Yeah, with Kai.
Okay, excellent.
She's been soliciting love poetry because Valentine's Day.
Okay.
So I'm embarrassing myself with a love sonnet that I wrote. Call it a broken sonnet or call it a slant rhyme sonnet. But I've submitted that, and they're going to do that tomorrow night. And then, of course, I've got a number of spoken word events coming up. And because this is live TV, I have a grandchild here. So, yes, dear, what can I do for you? You can get as many Tootsie Roll Pops as you want, sweetie.
Here's a poem for you, Tootsie Roll Pops.
Yeah, indeed. I do have a few about my grandchildren, but not planning to read any of them today. But, I've got a number of features coming up. I'm going to be on Uncloistered again with Johnny McIntyre. I'm actually going to be a feature on WNP in July. I'm going to be on, what is it? Out of Long Island, Oceanside Library Series in March.
Okay.
So I'm staying very busy, just like you. You and I are becoming ubiquitous on the airways, I think.
Yeah, ubiquitous is the word. Omnipresent. So, have you developed any new ideas as far as your approaches to poetry?
Well, I have been taking a series of workshops with the poet Maria Nazos, who you know,
Mhm.
and she is uh, a wonderful teacher in form poetry. Um, she's one of the few people. I mean, she got a form poem into the New Yorker in 2016. She got a pantoum in there, Cape Cod pantoum.
Mhm.
And so I've been studying form with her because I want to kind of stretch my poetic muscles. I've traditionally just written whatever the muse gave me, but I have been writing sonnets and pantoums and villanelles and guzzles and all kinds of things. And then most recently, and we talked about it a little before we went live on the air. I've been
Mhm.
grandchildren and dogs. You can hear the dogs in the background too.
Not too bad.
Uh,
You're
just like
good.
we're on
That's
CNN.
fine.
But an experiment that I've been kind of doing with my writing is I'm trying to find ways to write about dark and difficult things,
Mhm.
but find beauty within it. You
Mhm.
know, maybe not in the subject matter, but in the description, in what edification I'm able to create in people. And some of the things I'd like to share with you guys today fall into that category. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of experimenting, and don't let the white beard fool you. I'm still a young poet in many ways. I've only been writing seriously since 2016, and it's really only in the last year, as you and I have talked about, that things have really taken off for me. And so I'm just going to strike while the iron is hot and do as much good writing as I can and get as much out there as I can in every form and format that I'm able to do so. So being here today is just a great treat for the opportunity to share what I've been doing and share some of my work in a place where I know it's going to be treated fairly, and a lot of people I know watch the show, and so I'll be able to go like, "Hey, guess what? I'm on World Anchors Network," and they'll be like, "Okay, we'll watch."
That's great. Love the little promotional giveaway there. Just like sneak in a couple of notes to people that, hey, here's the link. Take a look and see what happened. See what you guys missed out there. If you guys aren't watching right now, you're missing a good conversation you could be participating in. Actually, you could leave comments on the show live. I want to remind people of that they can do that if they're watching currently. You can drop us a couple of lines and say hello. So when you say difficult subjects, dark, difficult subjects, can you give us some examples of some of those subjects?
Um, Death,
Of
uh,
course, yeah.
Alzheimer's,
Yeah.
chemotherapy, um,
Hmm.
child endangerment and abuse,
Yeah.
um, just trauma, PTSD,
Wow.
number of different things.
Yeah. Yeah, those are definitely difficult subjects, and they're hard to. I mean, like you said, you make them beautiful in the language, but not necessarily make them seem beautiful in their life. I think in some ways, poetry has the ability to transform and transmute things that are difficult and hurtful into something, you know, amazing and flourishing, and give you a release from the bondage to those things that in life there's so much that can just burden us. And I think that poetry is amazing in its capacity to, when you put something on the page, it's almost like you've made not only made a new discovery, you've struck gold in that sense. You've transmuted iron into gold. All that heavy weight of iron you're carrying around, it's like an alchemy going on of transforming and transmuting something into something interesting and thought provoking that makes people think about those subjects without uh, necessarily you don't want to hold on to that pain or to that frustration and seeing those things in the world. It's a very difficult world.
Yeah, and that is a great metaphor, and I completely agree with you. And then, of course, if you're lucky, and I try to make rather than find my luck as often as I can. You write in a way that is accessible and that people are going to be able to, on some level, identify with, whether for themselves or for people that they love. And hopefully what it will do is it will give them the opportunity to think about, to process, to, if nothing else, feel as though they're not alone in having had these kinds of experiences and navigating their way through what, as we both know, is becoming a more and more complex world every day.
And I think if you have the poem there, and let's say you're teaching children this poem about, I don't know, child abuse, gun violence, whatever, then they can open up about their own lives.
Exactly.
In the process, it's a good way to introduce a topic that's very hard to talk about, like in a classroom or in a space. As you know, Kai Coggin, for instance, is a teacher, and I'm sure I know she uses poetry and the arts to communicate with the young people that she encounters and so forth. So I had a kind of off the cuff question. I was just thinking this, this is sort of interesting, and it's quasi arts related. Who are some of your heroes? Not just in the arts, but just general picture. Who do you look up to that really kind of get your gears going?
Well, a lot of them are deceased now. One that comes to mind, because recently a friend gave me a wonderful children's book called Preaching to the Chickens, passed away last year, the great civil rights leader, John Lewis. Who, of course, one of his famous quotes is, try to find good trouble. And a lifetime finding good trouble, getting out there and being heard. And of course, he died of, I believe, cancer last year, but almost all the way up to the end, he was out there talking candidly, but with love and nonviolence about things like Black Lives Matter and the inherent discrimination against everything from people of color to the trans community to the gay community to people with different kinds of mental illness, and so he's been a great hero and a guiding light for me through the years. In terms of the arts, gosh, there's so many. I mean, of course, sometimes you have to separate the art from the artist. Some of my very favorite poets, every year it seems that stuff comes out more and more, where I don't like them, but I'm not going to boycott them because their work is so good.
Who comes to mind for me is Pablo Neruda.
I was going to literally. I've got 50 love sonnets right over.
Excellent poet, and almost in so many ways. I mean, you kind of, when I have this conversation a lot of times, I want to say, let the person's faults and mistakes and mishaps pass. Let the art flourish. At the same time, you think about it, you can't give a free pass to just a person just because they wrote well or they painted well. That almost like saying, culturally speaking, we're okay with this kind of phenomena happening, this kind of thing happening. It's a really tricky question for me because, I almost want to say, I don't want to forgive the person their misdeeds, but I want to say just let go of it in a way, but at the same time, you want to make sure that this is not acceptable behavior. Like in the case of Pablo Neruda, he wrote in his diary in his memoirs that he basically committed rape against a young maidservant.
Maid or something. And he raped her. And then he wrote poetry about it. Yeah. But what I think is, if I'm sharing Pablo Neruda with a younger poet or a friend, and they haven't been exposed to him, what I think is important is that you create context. So say, here's some beautiful work, and here's what you need to know about who produced this work, and actually can enhance your appreciation or understanding of the work if you know things like that. I mean, like one of the great love poets of all time was also a rapist. Well, that's difficult, but it's also on a certain level fascinating to kind of understand the art in that context. Ezra Pound, one of the great images.
Of course, absolutely.
been known about him since World War II, but I mean, basically a fascist.
Yeah, absolutely.
E. Cummings, brilliant poet, anti-Semite.
Yeah.
And
T.S. Eliot.
on and on.
All those guys, all of them.
Yeah. Robert Frost, not one of my favorite poets, but very famous.
Not one either.
But also
Yates Lawrence has some sort of fascistic views to an extent. Yeah. And they wrote beautifully. And I think that can tell you, like what I'm saying about the ugliness of life and the ugliness of the heart can come out and be beautified. These examples, this is a good model of a person who's basically has rotten ideas or rotten behaviors, and they still are able to create something massively influential and beautiful that people can appreciate, even though they're, there's a terror to them in a way.
Yeah.
Well,
my 17-year-old grandson lives with me, and I help him with schoolwork. And this past semester, one of his projects in junior English was The Great Gatsby, and so we went through that whole book together. And I'm a big Fitzgerald fan, but part of my responsibility to him going through the book was to point out to him the rampant anti-Semitism that is embedded in so many of the pages and characterizations in that book. Doesn't stop it from being a classic, but you need to see it in context. He was definitely a man of his times, and he had a lot of stereotypes. And one of his characters in the book is a Jewish gangster, and he represents him in a really anti-Semitic way. And but again, history is central to the arts. It's central to everything. And so, we want to have our heroes, but we want to put them in context. A lot of people have John F. Kennedy, and he was probably a rapist. Martin Luther King, he liked the ladies on the road. Mao Zedong, regularly had little 15-year-old girls brought. Mahatma Gandhi used to like to sleep naked on a mat with pubescent girls. Supposedly he never touched them, but
of course, I believe that was a religious exercise for him, at least theoretically.
Right? Yeah,
it's difficult to say what his intentions were.
Right, and but here's the bottom line: what kind of nightmares did those little prepubescent girls have, whether it was religious purpose or not? I mean, it's like, think about Vishnu. I don't know. But it comes down to looking at everything in context and finding value within that. And I think that's what poets try to do every day.
Absolutely. We're going to take a brief break, but we'll be right back with some of Rick Christiansen's poetry. Enjoy this music video.
Okay.
Katoto ni physical, nikikaona nafasi kamizuka. Oji original, mimi naye original. Katoto ni physical, nikikaona nafasi kamizuka. Oji original, mimi naye original. Mwendo wake mdogo mdogo, refu yake shingo. Uko nyuma zigo mwendo wake mdogo refu yake shingo. Uko nyuma zigo mtoto kiuno dondora, jicho nyanya akivaa kijola, zigo lina bana mafisi wananichola, wanakodoa sana, hawawezi nipola, kesho nampeleka kwa mama.
Do you know that there is a publishing company that wants to make life easier for you as a writer. This publishing company is called World Inkers Printing and Publishing. We publish in all different languages, and we're looking for writers of all genres, all formats. We're looking for scholars, ghostwriters, playwrights, poets, short fiction, novelists, you name it. We're looking for anybody who is interested in writing and the craft of writing to be in touch with us. You can reach us at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. With World Inkers Printing and Publishing, you do not require a lot of money to publish with us. Contact us today at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. Become a winner with other authors at World Inkers Printing and Publishing. Give us a shot. We will surely finish you. Welcome back to World Inkers Network, and I'm Dustin Pickering with Rick Christiansen today. Thanks for joining us on the program, Rick. So I hear you have some poetry samples you'd like to share with us.
Sure. As I said, I've been experimenting with writing about darker subjects and material and trying to find beauty within that. The first one I'm going to read today is about difficult childhoods, and it is called Pig Lung Soup. Now, those that don't know it, in China, pig lung soup is a delicacy. And it's sort of ironic because, pig lungs are like one of the grossest things on the planet. But what
I imagine
what they have done is they have this process where, it takes an entire day, but they make this pig lung soup, and it is a prized delicacy in the country. I don't know that I want to try it, but I have read recipes for it. And so that is sort of the metaphor for this poem. And I will read it now. Pig lung soup. Everything must be chewed and digested. You remember many times in the backseat of a car, holding your whole world in a paper bag in your lap, no idea where you are going, just knowing you have to get away. You begin to fold and refold, creating layers of protection, nothing but skin and innocence. The day comes when you look at your parent with the grave realization that they are lost. You do not have a net. You become more pragmatic than devout, rubbing your own hope into your face with the dry heels of your small hand. You explore this new country in which you now live. There is no vacation from the irrational vigilance that has no object and grants no power. You trade away intimacy for control, finding warmth in the friction of relationships built past the childhood taken. You navigate the jagged rocks, a world that would benefit from hands that would be better to be idle. Hate can't, rising in sound devoid of pity. Predictable illumination from the refuge you are granted, finding what no one wants.
There was some sound blips going on there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, there was some sound blips happening there. I wasn't sure if there was. I wasn't sure what was going on. It's like a little, yeah. But anyway, I listened to the poem as much as I could hear, and I thought, yeah, excellent work. So I'm gonna flash the email for the pet anthology for you here. Let me make sure I get this right so people can see it.
anthologypet@gmail.com. Fantastic.
And I'm gonna leave that there for everybody to see for a while. So if you guys out there want to submit to this anthology, Rick Christiansen and Damian Ward Hayes, wonderful anthology for lost and not forgotten pets, then please feel free to send to this email at the bottom of the screen here. Go ahead and read us another poem.
Sure. This one, trigger warning. This is about animals. This may end up in our anthology if I end up having one in there. It is about the death of an animal. And it is a high bun that was published recently in McQueen's Quinterly. You know Claire McQueen. And I had a couple of high bun that went in there at the first of the year. And this is one of them. And it is, and for those that don't know what a high bun is, it is basically a piece of prose, generally a very detailed description of one thing, usually either omniscient or first person, and interspersed in it or ending it is a haiku, which is not directly related. It's a very Japanese concept. The haiku needs to somehow relate, but you want people to have to work at it, to think about how that haiku fits in with the prose that you've read. And so here's my attempt at that form. And as I said, it got published earlier this year. Into the can. The small black kitten has been crushed, not yet quite dead. Her dark eyes are slits in her flattened face. Her white teeth are showing through her opened mouth. The tip of her pink tongue rests on the teeth, slightly protruding. She is trembling with small convulsion. I hold her in my 10-year-old hands, ask my stepfather, almost pleading, if we can take her to the doctor. No point, he says. She's trash now. Put her in the can outside. I walk the steps from our basement apartment, cradling the kitten in my upturned palms. I can still feel her trembling. I reach the heavy gray metal trash can. With the kitten in the crook of one arm, I pry off the frozen lid. I place the kitten onto the mound of cardboard and garbage in the can. It is twilight. Her black form lays on its side on the cardboard like a charcoal cameo. I slowly replace the lid. Some need to grow thorns to touch the pearl drop waters. Part of me falls through.
Thank you. Wow. That's a very descriptive and again dark description of a pet's passing and you know the what you could call the repercussions or the difficulties of dealing with that for a child, especially in that poem. Wow. Yeah, you bring that to life. Maybe some step parents or parents will read that and say, hey, you know, maybe we should be a little more gentle with our children when their pets pass. You know, so these pets are like really, you know, important to people, and hopefully, you know, people will, you know, be willing to send some really remarkable poems that have a lot of high caliber emotion, as well as some lessons to be learned about what the meaning of animals are to us, and for your anthology. So I'm looking forward to seeing that happen. You know, you guys are doing that's some really interesting work, and I think it's valid not just as, you know, the you know, for nominally what it says and represents, but there's a bigger picture of how we have compassion for animals, and I think that's important on a bigger scale as a human race as we relate to our environment. They can possibly be something to think about related to that anthology. You know, and as people read through the pages, they can think about, you know, what animals mean to us, you know, as people that domesticate, or, you know, I heard cats self-domesticated, so I'm not, you know, I can't speak for every little critter out there, but you know, and as we know, cats are their own.
Yeah, well, a famous comedian once said that he realized one day, looking into his cat's eyes, that what his cat was probably thinking was, you do realize if I was larger than you, I would eat you. And you have that look in their eyes. But you talk about compassion and empathy, and that is the thing. Animals are, particularly in our culture and Western culture, they are a bridge to compassion and empathy for us. People who have no other humans in their lives that they're close to. Many of them have a pet that is, you know, a boon companion, and someone they're able to lavish love and affection and feelings on. And I know many people who have become better people and better friends and better lovers, better parents, better children because of the lessons that they've learned by having a good and loving, compassionate, and deep relationship with a domesticated animal, from a dog to my 6-year-old granddaughter has a hamster, and they are best friends. That hamster rides around. She wears shirts that have little breast pockets now, because the hamster likes to get in her breast pocket and stick its little head out like this and walk around the house. The hamster was down here when she came to get the Tootsie Pops. So yeah, it's all good.
That's funny. Yeah, animals are really special parts of our lives, and then then there's the big movement against eating meat right now that has a lot to do with global warming. I was thinking of that kind of stuff too, about how compassion for animals is really the center of our humanity in so many ways, because they're smaller, helpless creatures, especially if they're domesticated, and if we're not able to take care of or to show compassion for something that needs that compassion, then what about just, ourselves or our fellow man? If we're going to be cruel to an animal, I mean, as we know, like I talk about psychopaths and sociopaths a lot, and they start off torturing animals. So, that's one of the things that I learned reading about that phenomena, that psychological malady. But I find that, if you're not able to be compassionate towards small beings, or, beings that are technically helpless and in need of, we have to feed our animals and stuff. If you can't be kind and compassionate to them, then you've got some dirt in your soul, basically. You need to wheedle out.
Yep. And, all of life is practice. And so we need to, take the opportunity every day to practice compassion, to practice love, and we can with it.
Absolutely. Would you like to share another poem with us?
Sure. Again, kind of a dark topic, but a little different one. This one and then another one that's a lot shorter that I hope to read today are both about some of the challenges of becoming elderly and some of the maladies that be associated with it. This one is called Snow in April. Big, lazy, unexpected flakes are falling. The newly bloomed tulips tremble when their cups catch crystal. He stares out through the glass, trying to discern this untimely glow. He knows she has vascular dementia, but still has a very full life. Talks to people all day long, but the hallucinations are intractable. He cannot. It's not smoke. Still, one-sided dialogue is underrated. She surprises herself with her. He needs this play of conversation. Find her shifting boundaries before they end others in ways that it is like that with this. She asks herself, knows that they are planning to install the 5G. He hopes that will improve her reception. He hates to have to ask for things to be repeated. If he knows about the snow, it might move her down. It is starting to accumulate on the grass. The blooms are bending from the weight. With clarity, remembers an NPR story about global warming. Still remembers about the calories, the amount of energy required to raise the temperature of 1 kilogram of water 1 degree Celsius. Always. The snow will certainly, the tulips will be when the weight of what.
Excellent. Another reason why we should take care of the weakest members of society, or the ones we call the disenfranchised, the infirm, and our planet as well. I mean, we have a very large planet that's rapidly deteriorating. So, I can imagine being close to leaving this world. And as you mentioned in the poem, reading an article or seeing an article that talks about this kind of stress that's being put on this earth, and coming to an understanding and looking at that and thinking, what are my children going to face?
Yep.
Yeah. So that brings to light a lot of questions in that poem. I think we have time maybe for you to read one more if you'd like to.
Okay. And this one is pretty short. Again, a difficult subject. And I'll just let the poem speak for itself as to that subject. Just wrote this a couple of weeks ago. It is called Annie 2022. The whimper is like releasing steam from a boiler. Incremental pressure dropping, joints relax as they flex. Pain too big to feel all at once. Needs too large to capture in the boundaries of a moment. Desire and irritation niche. She spasmodically plucks at the loose skin on the back of her hand, feels the weight of the blankets, toes tented at the foot of the bed. He watches her stare at the button on the morphine pump, sees her calculate her equation, trying to reconcile relief with lucidity.
Thank you so much, Rick. Would you like to share any last wisdoms, wisdoms plural, with the viewers today as we close the program, or any thoughts for readers and writers out there that need a little encouragement, or maybe just a little thought on submitting, even anything you want to share that you want to say to the viewers out there?
Well, I'll start by stealing from that I've kind of copied you in terms of, I'm now for SPOFest, we're doing guest author interviews, and I did an interview with Kai Coggin, and I'm going to steal from her and her wisdom for us. And he started by saying, remember to be kind. And yeah, that speaks to every aspect of our lives. It's something we've been talking about today. If we're able to bring mindfulness and kindness to everything we do, whether we are poets or any kind of artist, or a parent or a grandparent or a pet owner, heck, when you're out on the highway, manifest kindness in the way you drive. Don't cut people off. Don't create situations for road rage. As far as more professional advice, if you are a poet or a writer, do exactly that. Write and write and write and write and write, because that is how you are going to have better work and how you are going to grow as an artist. And then submit, and don't take rejection personally.
Absolutely.
Now, Dustin, we were talking before we went on the air about that. So many people feel as though they are being rejected when they send a poem or a piece of fiction or flash fiction out, and it comes back, hey, this wasn't right for us right now. It's not personal. Now that you and I both function in an editor capacity, and I can tell you there are poets that I really, really like, and whose work I really, really enjoy, and I've had to turn them down because what they have presented to me on this day at this time isn't right for what I am trying to fill. It's not personal. It is not a reflection on you, the poet, as an artist, necessarily. It is the fact that what you've got to do is write, submit, and your stuff will find its forever home when it finds it. And that's the circle of life for being a writer in our culture.
Would you like to say any thank yous or give any shout outs at the end of the program here?
Everybody, please come to SPOFest. Our next show is next Tuesday night, live from 6 to 8:30 p.m. Central Time. Our guest author is Kai Coggin. We have several featured readers. We will be doing open mic following the show. watch Wednesday Night Poetry tomorrow evening. It's Valentine's Day show. You will be subjected to my love sonnet if you watch all of it. And of course, please come back to World Inkers Network. What Dustin is doing here, what the guys are doing is important and growing. And particularly if you are also an artist in any way, shape, or form, understand that the first place all of us are going to find support is from each other. The first place we are going to find understanding is from each other. So don't just focus only on yourself and your work. Understand that it takes a village, and we have to take care of each other, and we have to celebrate each other, and we have to promote each other. We have to find what is good and beautiful out there and take it and run with it and give it to everybody we can. And that's what World Inkers Network is doing. And that's what SpoFest tries to do. And that's what Wednesday Night Poetry, the longest consecutive open mic event in the country. They've been doing it, close to 1,600 consecutive weeks now.
Yeah.
1989. And now that we have the internet, and we've learned how to use it in the context of the pandemic, really get out there, because now what you do doesn't just reach your community. Your community is the world, ladies and gentlemen. And I know that what Dustin and I have done today is going to be seen by artists that I know who live in India, because this show is popular in India. People pay attention to it. It's going to be seen by artists from all of the continents. So be a part of bringing more beauty and more kindness to the world, and we will find ways to navigate our way through with our art and spirit this very difficult.
Well, thank you, Rick, for joining us today, and submit to his anthology, the Anthology for Lost or Passing Pets or Past Pets, as you saw at the banner there. Take a look at that. Thanks for joining us, Rick. This has been World Inkers Network. We had Rick Christiansen today with his wonderful, dark, and linguistically experimental poetry. And if you guys missed it, go back and watch again. It's also a submission opportunity. So you guys out there will have an excellent opportunity to find a place for your work, especially if you're writing about animals and the love of animals. If you would like to donate to us, we definitely could use the assistance at paypal.me/nyparrot. We're definitely in need. We want to keep this program alive and well, functioning, and not on life support. So please donate a little bit here and there will be just fine with us. If everybody out there donated about $10 or something of that nature, then we would be, we would have enough money to keep pushing this program out there into the world and onto the world stage. As Rick has said, it's a popular program and we love doing it and we want to continue doing it and we plan to continue doing it. So if you'd like to be a guest, I'd love to have you as a guest. As they say on the song Beauty and the Beast, be my guest. So you can reach me, Dustin Pickering, at Literary Corner at NewYorkParrot.com. We'd like to have a bio in the form of a paragraph in third person, a headshot that is a picture of your face, and a couple of samples of your work, maybe a chapter from your book or screenplay or whatever it is you're working on or have published. We'd love to take a look at that so I can get an idea of who you are as a writer, as a scholar, as a thinker, a philosopher, a person being in the world, or as a strange creature from the planet Zagagubalabajigajai. Someone take a Fagaligabagada. Yes, that is a real planet, by the way. And I definitely would like to hear from you. So please get in touch with me and beware of falling stars. And if you're writing and you have a pen in hand, keep writing. And if you don't have a pen in hand, pick one up. Good afternoon. Get to writing. Thanks for joining the show today. World Inkers Network. Do you know that there is a publishing company that wants to make life easier for you as a writer. This publishing company is called World Inkers Printing and Publishing. We publish in all different languages, and we're looking for writers of all genres, all formats. We're looking for scholars, ghostwriters, playwrights, poets, short fiction, novelists, you name it. We're looking for anybody who is interested in writing and the craft of writing to be in touch with us. You can reach us at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. With World Inkers Printing and Publishing, you do not require a lot of money to publish with us. Contact us today at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. Become a winner with other authors at World Inkers Printing and Publishing. Give us a shot. We will surely finish you. World Inkers Monthly Magazine is a fine source for your literary interests. It's an all-source magazine with poetry, prose, and essays and articles, as well as interviews. It's all full-color art and photography from a variety of voices and artists. You will find this magazine entertaining. This is an all-purpose readership, and we are looking for new voices. This sleek, full-color edition of World Inkers Monthly Magazine will be something pleasant for your eyes as well as for your mind. And we're looking for authors for one book promotion in the magazine. If you're a business, we want to promote your business. You may submit your book reviews, your academic or non-academic articles on the humanities and the arts, as well as your literary writing and creative output to publication.worldinkers@gmail.com. World Inkers Monthly Magazine does not spare any ink. Keep inking for World Inkers Monthly Magazine. Are you curious about financial literacy? Then take a look at Professor Anthony Rivecchio's new program on Parrot TV. It's called Financial Focus University. This is an excellent program to learn about questions related to your own finances post-COVID, if how you can manage your money, how you can work with your tax situation. And this is an excellent and informative discussion of financial literacy. With Professor Anthony Rivecchio, your financial problems will be solved at Parrot TV with Financial Focus University.
Listen